Ready?
The cameras are rolling. So.
Cameras are rolling?
Yep.
I look as good as I can?
I'm trying my best.
I know.
It's so mean.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the wonderful world of weddings. My name is Daniel Krikorian, and I am so happy to have you here with us. Today we have a great pair of guests with us. We have Mia and Katie from the Boston Beauty Network. But before we get into our conversation with them, I just want to let everyone know that this podcast is brought to you by the New England Wedding Expo. Join us at the New England Wedding Expo, where you have over 40 vendors all together in one space. Make sure to get your tickets today. The first 150 people are free. So go to newenglandweddingexpo.com and sign up right now. Reserve your tickets today. Prices will go up after the 150. And for all you vendors out there, we just have a few spots left, so make sure to sign up today. And let's get right on into it with Katie and Mia. I am so happy to have you two here. I'm actually a big fan, and I know that sounds kind of odd. It's odd enough when people say, you own this company? And I said, yeah, why? And they're like, you. I'm like, yeah, me. Why? I'm like, well, and who's your partner? I'm like, that guy. And they're like, what? Weird. So you two fit the mold for the industry a little bit better than me, but I have been watching you. So Sophie followed you on Instagram. Sophie's in the background there for all of you who are listening. And
Good eye, Sophie. Good eye.
yes, she found you. And I check on it every once in a while just to see what's going on. And I always see your posts. And I think you do a great job on social media. Because clearly you attracted my attention. I hate social media, so that's a win. But on top of that, I just like what you two are doing. And so I actually reached out and I said, Sophie, we got to get them on here. And I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about how you two started and where it all came from. So tell us a little bit about the Boston Beauty Network and where you were before and how it all happened.
Yeah. You want to jump in?
I know. Who wants to kick it off?
Well, I came to Florida because of my husband, or I came from Florida because of my husband to the Boston area. And so I have a background of doing event hair and makeup in Palm Beach. You're always doing event hair and makeup.
Yeah.
I didn't want to build up a following moving here, so I got into event hair and makeup. And they would consistently put me on a circuit with Katie. And they were like, oh, this girl's just like you. You two are going to hit it off. And we do. We hit it off. We have the same aesthetic. She has an esthetician background. So she's really brings the skin game. And I do hair and makeup. I have a little bit of a different viewpoint than makeup than she does. And so hair and makeup goes together really well.
Yeah.
And the fact that we have kind of the same vision for it pairs well too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so I'm here, born and raised in the Boston area. And I actually have a psychology background too.
Oh.
And I used to work in recruiting and human resources and that type of thing. And then had kids and decided, and always kind of did makeup on the side as a hobby for friends for years, even back to like my high school days.
Yeah.
And realized I didn't want to go back to like the corporate 9 to 5.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
You chose weddings.
yeah. So I was looking for something to do when my kids were young on the weekends when I knew my husband would be home. And so I started just getting into makeup, taking classes and things like that. And decided to go freelance and do weddings for another company, which is where Mia and I met.
Yep.
And I fell in love with it.
Let's get out of here. You come with me.
Yeah, and I fell in love with it, but I knew I wanted to work for myself eventually. I come from a family of, my father runs his own business and has for years, and I just love that whole entrepreneurship and all of that.
Right.
So I realized I just wanted to go out and get that wedding experience. And I worked for her for about 2 seasons, and then I was like, I'm out, I'm on my own, and I started working for myself for a little bit. And same thing. I was always like, everyone was like, I need somebody for hair. Everybody that hired me was looking for hair. And Mia and I had worked so well together, again, shared that similar aesthetic. And I said, I kept saying, Mia, let's go. And she was kind of doing stuff on her own and was referring me. And finally we were like, wait a second, like, why don't we just, instead of two vendor contracts,
like,
two of
here's
everything.
my contract. Now meet her for her contract.
It was
And
just
I don't know her price point. You'll talk to her.
Yep.
It was like, let's streamline this. Hair and makeup goes together.
Yes.
Let's just streamline this. Let's get you into a whole system. And Katie and I are pretty chill on a wedding day. I think you have a lot more fun with us on your preview day or your trial day. we tell our brides all the time, that's when you'll spend your most time with us because
Yes.
it's you and I. We get to know you beforehand. Katie and I like to get into their vision and really understand it.
Yep.
So your preview, you spend a lot of time with us. And sadly, you know, we're part of your party at the wedding, but it's really all about your bridesmaids and your family. And we're kind of in the background of it. Just similar to if you were on a shoot or you were, you know, backstage, you're in the background of it all.
Right.
You really have to understand the concept and drive it home. And I think weddings are a lot like that. They're definitely timeline heavy.
Oh, sure.
So,
Yeah.
And so how long has the Boston Beauty Network been around? So when did you two start and kind of merge together?
Yeah, so we met back in 2013, and then we opened Boston Beauty Network in 2019.
Oh, okay.
Right before the pandemic.
In our car.
Jeez.
In our
Yeah.
car
Yeah.
after
Nice.
some wedding, we were like, let's just do this. We got our LLC online. Right?
Yeah.
Little legal Zoom going on there.
Yeah.
That's
Like
exactly what we did.
$700 right online.
We do a lot of good work.
We
in our
do.
car.
We do a lot of work
Yeah.
in our car.
We opened a bank account. What else did we do? Yeah.
We hired a lawyer.
Yeah. We did it all. I mean, we came up with
Driving
our
to
contract.
weddings.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Yeah, and so we started right before the pandemic, which was kind of scary.
Mm-hmm.
But what we ended up realizing, and I don't know if you had a similar experience, but so many people still wanted to go through with their weddings.
Oh,
You know,
goodness,
it just
yes.
became like smaller. They
Yep.
became micro weddings and
Yep.
elopements and just family, small, close wedding parties.
Yep.
So ended up, and they still wanted photography. They still wanted hair and makeup because they were still getting married.
Yeah,
And
those were the necessities.
yeah,
They
yeah.
zeroed it down to the
Yeah,
necessities.
100%.
James and I, you know, one of the big stories that we remember and how we got started was everyone in the pandemic, like you said, they wanted the photographer. Once they realized, oh, we could still do this outside. It's
Right.
not as terrible as we thought, right? It's still bad, but it's not as terrible. They said, okay, look, we're going to bring our closest people, maybe 5 tops. We can't have the whole ceremony, but we're going to do a 1 to 2 hour thing. And we're just going to do some shots of each other, photography, videography wise, and record the ceremony. Videography kicked up because everyone said, I want to send this to the friends and family who can't be here.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And so all of these people, all of these photo and video people who were used to doing the 8 hours for the, $4,000, they said, I'm just going to collect unemployment. I'm not going to go ahead and do this job. James and I said, screw it. We're going to take every 1 and 2 hour job that we possibly can. And we were driving around different states. I think we did, each would do 3-4 weddings in a day because we were just like, boom, boom, boom,
Yep.
boom, boom.
Yeah.
People
And-
said to us the same thing. Oh, you must be dead. We were like,
No.
we were embarrassed to tell people we were busy until someone told us like, it's
Yeah.
okay to tell people
Right.
you're doing well.
Right.
Yeah.
I know. And it's funny because I had someone being like, you're taking advantage of it. I'm like, that is the most ridiculous statement
Right.
I've ever heard in my life.
Right.
I was like, no, there are people who still want to get married and said, screw it. I'm doing this.
Yep.
And we said, well, we're going to cater a package to you and take care of you. And, we did it for a reasonable price. Yeah, we drove around like maniacs. But the other great thing is we did 200 jobs that year and we got great reviews because people were just like, thank you so much. You took care of us. You were willing, not only were you willing to show up, you did a great job
Right.
and you, were personable and did the whole 9 yards. And it was great.
It was
Yeah.
so much more intimate, right?
Yes,
The way a wedding
yes.
should be. And you really got to know your bride and her
Yep.
sister.
Yep.
And a lot of them had their big wedding the following year.
Yep.
So we
and
did
they
it
hired us
again.
Yep.
They did.
And then their sister hired us
Yes,
and their bridesmaids.
yes,
So
yes.
it's
It was
been-
great.
It's been awesome.
Yes.
And I think too, it's just like made the wedding industry take a step back
Mm,
too a little bit and make things a little bit, things just got
Tone
so
it down.
crazy and
Yeah.
They
out of
did.
hand. So I think it was nice. You saw a lot of those like backyard weddings and just
Mm-hmm.
all the feedback was like, this was so nice. I think this is, and some people decided not to do a reception after their
Right.
wedding because they
Right.
were like, that was everything I wanted,
Yep.
So
Yep.
it's really
we had one
interesting
bride who
time.
saved her dress, remember? And she had her, because she wanted the big wedding.
Mm-hmm.
And then she kept planning her big wedding. And the date kept moving. And then she just finally said that was perfect. You
Yeah.
know? And she never wore that dress. I always go, she never wore that dress.
But I think too, what happened during that time too is that Mia and I were so busy. We actually got COVID right when like COVID was a thing, and
Yeah,
when
yeah.
you were considered like.
A leper. I was petrified of getting COVID too.
But it actually helped in a way because we were like that 90 days of like, so we actually just kept everything rolling, and we
Right.
were
We didn't
able
know
to.
it was 90. We were like, we're good.
Yeah, we thought we were good forever. We thought we were never going to get COVID
Yeah,
again.
yeah,
We thought
yeah,
it was like
yeah.
mono or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But but then all these girls, like other artists that we had worked with, makeup and hair,
That's how
had
it
started
happened.
reaching out to us saying like, oh, you guys are busy. Like, are you looking for help? So that's kind of how we grew the network of girls. We have 8 girls that work for us. And that's kind of how it all
Those
came
artists
about. It was
we
kind of
really
just
met.
organically happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that was the same here, but that's actually a great part for us to kind of stop and just take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back. We're going to get a little bit more into, the whole makeup process and how you guys approach it, because that's a great way to really let our listeners know how they should think about approaching it as well, and how we can connect you to.
Wonderful.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
so we'll be back in just a few, guys. This has been The Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel. We're going to take a quick commercial break. Be back here in just a few minutes, and I am here with Katie and Mia from the Boston Beauty Network. So we'll see you in just a second. Thanks, guys. Hey everyone, and welcome back to The Wonderful World of Weddings. I am so happy to have you here. My name is Daniel. If you were listening prior, you can also go back and listen. If you are on WCRN, please go ahead and just understand that I'm with 2 amazing ladies who started the Boston Beauty Network. I have Katie and Mia with me, and we are talking all things hair and makeup today. And with hair and makeup, I have some questions, because clearly I don't have much experience. Although I do need to let everyone know, if you haven't listened to our show, I was a makeup assistant once. I was.
Yes.
I washed the brushes. I did it
gonna
all.
say.
Yes, I made sure they were very clean, to the point where
That's important.
the artist just goes, you don't need to go this crazy.
Bristles were falling off.
Yeah, she goes, you're OCD, aren't you? I was like, yeah, a little bit. She goes, okay. But so my brief experience with makeup, because I won't even act like I have any hair. I don't. So for all of you listening, I went in and they all looked at me and they said, you're the guy? I was like, yes, I'm the guy. And then the little makeup artist, Tara, followed in behind me. And I was like, no, it's actually her. And they were just like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, well, she needed an assistant. And our other assistant got sick with COVID, funny enough. And so I said, I said, screw it. I'll step up. I'll do it. I'm the owner. What do I?
I mean, I've taught Katie to curl hair, so.
Yeah. So I went in there. It was great. And I was washing brushes. And every time I washed a brush, they were like, you're so good at that. I'm like, thank you. I'm here all day. I'll take care of you.
They loved it.
So they just thought I was the funniest thing. Yeah. But in terms of makeup, let's start with makeup. And it's funny because before the show, we talked about this. Most brides, they're looking for natural. You called it what? Soft glam?
Soft glam, yes.
And so what does that really entail, and why? Number one, what are you hearing from customers? I think that's the biggest thing. What do they want? And then number 2, what's your approach on that?
I think most of it is that natural to soft glam. We attract very few brides that want that full glam. And I think just overall in the industry, there's just not a lot of girls that want that. We also like to call it an elevated version of yourself. I think that's what a lot of girls want to look like. They always say, like, walking down the aisle, I don't want to like anyone to be like, who is that? Where is the bride?
Right.
She has lashes on that look like spider. You're like, nobody wants that, And I think that especially whoever they're marrying, they really just want that natural girl walking down the aisle. So we like to call it that elevated version of yourself. You want to look like you have makeup on, but not, not
needs
like
to match
yourself.
the occasion. You're wearing a gown and understand. That's why you want to understand the vibe. Are you at a beach? Are you on a farm? Because you want to match that vibe. You don't want to be so natural that then you're so natural. You do want to be pulled forward, and that's a fine line.
Right. You want someone to be wowed, but you don't want them to be like, who is that?
Exactly.
Is that the line that you're trying to draw?
And I think that the tricky part about it is natural can mean a lot of different things.
Yes.
And really finding out what it's different to every bride. So what that means and really like what their version of natural is and what their story is really the important piece that I think sometimes gets missed and gets lost. I think as artists, some people just try to, they have that one look that they like to do over and over.
Sure.
And I can relate. I was that artist when I started out.
Yeah,
I remember
yeah.
I was like, I know how to do 3 types of hairs. You know? And basically you sat in my chair, you were getting one of those 3 types of hair.
Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
yep.
Yeah. So I think it's, using, being smart and then
Yeah.
listening. I think that's a huge
Huge.
part of,
Sure.
of our job is listening to
yeah.
what they want. And,
That's the communication aspect.
and asking the right questions and all of that, because
Yeah.
those
Collecting
Instagram
it.
pictures just really aren't what people want, they think it's what they want, but it's really not.
And I think so, before the show, we were talking about the fact that me included, with most men, we typically love our significant other for the way they look. And so to see someone that doesn't look that way,
Bryce
doesn't
will
seem
say it,
appealing
yeah.
to me, and I think that's really funny. But again, it's defining those terms. Like you say glam, and I think I've heard so many different versions of that word. And so, and for probably a woman who isn't in the space, I mean, where do you even begin with that? How do you even begin talking? Because you have to almost make up your own language, right?
Break it down, help them understand it. I think we like to get on calls with our brides to understand their vibe, understand their needs. And they have so many questions, and then we want them to be comfortable. And
Sure.
we want to be transparent, too, about how we go about it and what we offer. And usually it's just a conversation, and by the end of it, we've answered most of their questions. If we haven't, we let them fire them off.
Right.
And we're very transparent at that point. So it's just easy to move forward. And it's also, if they're not working with Katie and I, if they're working with a network member, we already understand what aesthetic we think they want, and
Sure.
we can match them pretty well.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning process, really just listening and understanding what they need, what they want. And then, of course, having the ability to pull it off.
Sure.
I think too, just going back to that natural look, I think with photography too, like
Yes.
sometimes you can look washed out, right? So
Yes.
it's for somebody, like we've had a lot of girls, especially since the pandemic, nobody's wearing makeup anymore, right? Because they
Right.
don't really need to. They're like,
They don't go out as much
no,
either.
and they're like, I wear chapstick and maybe some mascara. We hear it all the time.
Yep.
And I think sometimes too, they're just so afraid of makeups. But I think it's also like you got to talk them, like it's okay to wear a little because these
Right.
pictures are going to last forever, and you can look a little washed out
Yep.
in photos if you don't have a little bit of color on your face, for example.
Sure,
So it's
sure.
just like
Especially if
making-
you have a bad photographer.
yeah, that too. Yeah, but it's just making them, feel comfortable too that you may need to go a little bit heavier than what you're used to, So
Yeah. But I mean, you have the other side of that too, where you see it and it's so powdery and thick, where now I'm taking a photo and my camera is so incredible that it's picking that up,
Talk about that.
and so there's a lot of correction that I now have to make to soften it.
Right.
And I've seen that makeup artist that does something of that nature, and I'm like, oh Jesus, that's a rough day, and so yeah, it's that in between.
It
right?
is, yeah.
We always say, we do work with some photographers for senior shoots or other various kind of photography. And I've worked a lot with one photographer in particular. And she said, having a makeup artist cuts down on our editing time.
Yes.
And that's huge.
A good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do tell our brides, I'm sure you've already looked at our Instagram. You've seen our images on the knot. That's airbrush. And sometimes airbrush people either think they love it or they definitely want it. And our airbrush is just really a light mist. And I tell them, look on Instagram, 95% of our brides had airbrush.
Really?
And if it's done properly, it's made for HD digital cameras.
Huh.
So, and really, if you don't have it, you're doing yourself a disservice if your skin's a good match for it,
Okay.
And-
yeah, and that's a big part of it, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where Katie brings in a lot of her aesthetics background. And I've heard you say over and over again that looking makeup-y is typically when you haven't done a nice skin prep session, right? To let the skin shine through.
And that's a big part of it. I think when we get into our next segment, I'd like to go into the preparation side of things for both hair and makeup, because so many brides, that's the big question. And what I always try to do on this show is when I'm talking to brides constantly, I'm hearing all of these questions. And the one that comes up over and over again is, how do I prepare? I think that's key. And so I'd love to be able to talk to you about that. But just before we kind of get to that, I guess My big question here is actually when you're trying to create that custom look, a lot of that's done in that trial, right? And that's why that trial is so important. Is it trying to not only develop that language and that communication, but then go ahead and see what fits them?
Yeah. So we have an initial conversation with all of our brides even before booking. And then prior to scheduling the trial, we ask them to complete a questionnaire, which is pretty lengthy and in-depth. And sometimes I'm like, we've talked about it already on our initial call, but it goes into a little bit more detail about like, do you have any allergies, those types of things. And then what's your hair like? We ask for, a picture of their dress, a headshot of them with makeup, a headshot without makeup, a Pinterest board of things that they've seen out, on the web that they like. And we take all of that and we kind of do a vision board. So even prior to meeting them, we really kind of at least have an idea of what they're looking for. And then the conversation continues once they come in for the trial. And
Sure.
So that's kind of how we get started with them. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It's
Sometimes you catch them there if they say, that's the problem. I haven't even started that, or I'm not even sure. And then we give them some tips on how to even create a vision board for hair.
Right.
And we'll tell them that those nuances is what we'll pick apart. Like if you show me a board and all the hair's up, we know you want your hair up. But sometimes the board will be half up, half down, and then you realize
you're trying to pull it out of that photo.
Let's have a conversation. Let's see what's going on.
And I think too, part of what gets missed with hair and makeup, because a lot of people just think of it as like a visual thing, is how you feel. Like if you all of a sudden decide you're going to wear your hair up on your wedding day, but you never wear your hair up every day, you're probably not going to be comfortable, So it's like you want to look and feel comfortable too. And I feel like that's just as, feeling
important.
Feeling good is just as important as looking good, right? And I think it's finding that balance.
Absolutely. And so when we get right back from this break, we're actually going to talk about kind of the questions that we should be asking and how to prepare our skin and our hair for that day. I think that's a great place to pick it up there. So thank you everyone for joining us for this segment. We're going to be back in just a few seconds after these commercial breaks. I do want to let you know that this show is sponsored by the New England Wedding Expo. So join us at the New England Wedding Expo and get your free tickets today for the first 150 guests. So we are booking up very, very quickly and we can't wait to see you there. My name is Daniel. This is the Wonderful World of Weddings. And we'll be back with Katie and Mia in just a second, guys. Thanks.
Every step, writing stories that seek to be read, taking hold of the moment as we discover every color filled with wonder. Now we finally see we got everything we need. Here we go. All we need is an open road and a chance to see a never-ending world that's beautiful. Here we go with the sunlight on our skin. It's a brand new day. It's ours to take and we will let it in. This is where the adventure begins.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. I am joined by the Boston Beauty Network here. I do want to let you know before we get into it that this show is also brought to you by Be Remembered, where you can actually have a wonderful wedding experience. So go to BeRememberedWeddings.com for your photo, video, event planning, DJ, photo booth, makeup, coordination plan. I don't know. It's all there. If I didn't say it, it's there. So jump on BeRememberedWeddings.com. Contact us today. We are booking up like crazy for 2023, and I want to make sure you do not miss out. And we're also accepting bookings for 2024, 2025. You name it, we'll book it now. Let's do it, and we'll see you soon. We'll talk to you soon. But right now, we're going to get back into makeup and hair. Hair. We want to talk about it all. Before the break, we were having a great discussion about the different types of communication and how important that is for the bride on the wedding day and trying to really extract that information from them, which I think is so difficult. I find that in photography myself when they say, I really love this photo. And my question is always, what do you love about that photo? Because you're not on a beach. It's the winter time and we're taking these photos. So what do you actually like?
That's important.
Because a lot of the times they're saying to you, I love this photo. And I actually narrow it down. I'm like, oh, is it the pose? No, I don't like the pose. So you like the beach? Well, yeah. Well, honey, we're not on a beach. And so that disconnect there is so difficult because you're trying to please them, but you're also speaking different languages most of the time. And so I think you guys do a wonderful job of preparing for that with the sheets, with having that constant contact. And then, of course, with the trial. Now, my question for you, do you have a lot of brides that come back for a second trial or want to either say, hey, I need to turn it up or turn it down, something of that nature? Do you ever have that?
We don't actually.
You don't?
We've
Okay.
maybe had one or two last year. Maybe one for our network and maybe one for Mia and I. I think she wanted, instead of like to completely change her idea.
Sure.
From going completely down to up. I forget what it was.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we always say if there's little tweaks. So we take a pretty extensive, Mia does like a little photo shoot.
She makes fun of me, but you love me for it.
We do a photo shoot at the trial after. So we take their picture in all different lights. We have them put their earrings on, their veil on, all of that.
Oh, wow.
And we send them those pictures. And we always say, like, take a look at these, like, look at them and see if there's little tweaks, like a lipstick change or something.
Which can be huge. So if they try a different lip color, I like to take a picture before the lip color comes off.
Yes.
And then
Yes.
you have that in your roll. You can see, did I like it just a little pinker? Did I want to go nuder with the peach? It's a big deal. It can really kind of change things up, but they don't have to decide in that moment.
Sure.
They can go back and look at that picture.
So we're going to talk about the elephant in the room before we actually get into to how brides should prepare for their day.
Okay. The suspense.
The names of these makeups.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So I already hear it in your voice.
Yeah.
I had to order them as a guy
Yeah.
online.
Yeah.
Not so bad. Online?
Yeah. It's better than going in and asking.
Oh, I had to do that once too. They're like, we're out of this. I can't even say it on the air. I think they would kick me off the air. I can't. Who comes up with these names?
NARS comes up.
Yeah. Mac. There's a few
Mac,
out
NARS.
there.
I
The
love
Kardashians.
when the
whoever.
customers ask too. They're just like, the brides are always like, I really like this color. What's it called? And it's just like, oh, Sex on Earth. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And that's a nice one.
You won't forget it.
Yes,
Yeah, that is a nice
that's
one.
a tamed one. I
yes,
made that
very
up, but that's tamed.
Yes.
That's tamed. I mean,
Yeah.
that one. Oh God.
Orgasm.
Yes, that's a very popular one. Apparently,
Yeah.
they are insane.
Yeah.
I can't believe it.
I
So
know,
I just
know.
needed to get that off my chest
Yeah,
because
it's
I feel
amazing. You would think in this day and age, like they could get away with it anymore, right?
Well, the
But-
funniest part is I once asked our makeup artist. I said, "Why the hell did they do it?" And they said, "Well, because you're talking about it right now." And I said,
Yeah.
"Fair point."
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
and I want this on record. I want to come out with a Crayola box of colors, right?
Oh, I like that.
For kids' makeup. I think it'd be fantastic. You say, like, here you go. It has like indigo and all the different colors. You put it in a makeup box. We'll get Crayola to sponsor it. It'll be wonderful.
exactly.
Crayola, don't take my idea. I swear I want some
probably
profits
will.
here.
Yeah.
Well, they do have lipstick palettes that look like that. And
Do they
you
really?
make them. The blue with the red.
Okay.
And, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. I was
I
in
know.
awe.
Yeah, there's a
In
few brands that really take it to the extreme.
Yeah,
Sure,
and
yeah.
they call me. They're just like, "Hey, Bootylicious, how's your day going?" I'm like, "Please don't call me that."
Right.
And they're like, "You look so sexy." I was like, "Well, thank you. I appreciate that." It's like they're stupid emails. I'm like, I can't deal with this.
Yeah, it's all marketing,
caught your
right?
eye.
Yeah, they do it so well, but
They
I
do
sit
it
there and
so
I'm
well.
like, "Oh my god, I can't handle it."
Yeah, it's hilarious.
All right, so let's get back to things that actually matter. How do we tell brides? Let's start with makeup because I know there's a lot of skincare that needs to be done too, and that's another big thing. Are we applying different things throughout the time of year? We're in New England, so things are
Yeah,
just
we
going to
talk about
change.
that.
What do you suggest for your clients? How do you really prepare them for their day in terms of skincare?
Yeah, I think that's so important. And I think sometimes, like these young girls who have beautiful skin, they're in their 20s or early 30s, and a lot of them, funny enough, don't do a whole lot, and sometimes they're just lucky. It's genetics and those
Right.
types of things. And we're like, well, keep doing what you're doing because you don't, need a ton
A whole
of
lot. Yeah.
yeah. And then there's, the other the other
Gamut of
90%,
it.
the other 90% of people that do, they
Yeah.
just really don't know what to do, because I think sometimes the cosmetic industry is so overwhelming.
Sure. Oh my God. Yeah.
It's just between
Absolutely.
skincare and makeup, it's just like crazy, So I think sometimes people get confused. Like, wait, should I be doing laser? Should I be getting facials? Should I be using this cream or that cream? And what do
Yeah.
I do? And now in every year, it's something new that you should be using, whether you're
Right.
20, 30, 40, 50.
Or it's something new that they're going to convince you to
Exactly,
use, right?
exactly.
Yeah. A new product.
So we always say a good skincare line and a regimen to follow where you're being consistent with it. I think consistency is more important than
Really?
anything. Monthly facials leading up to your wedding, all those things are
Monthly?
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah, I think
Well,
all those.
we'll tell you if you want to get to this Pinterest look, we'll help you get to it. You can have this information. If you don't want to use all this information,
right,
don't
right.
feel like you need to. But certainly, I think almost telling them what not to do. Like, don't wax too close to your day. Don't
okay.
do lasers too close to your day. Test out your airbrush tan. Book everything backwards is our biggest trick we tell people. So you have that perfect timing.
Okay.
And then Katie will always say, no, now's not the time to go do a hydrofacial. You haven't been doing it. Then let's not mess with that.
Yeah, let's not mess with anything.
right,
yeah.
right.
She'll say, I'll bring a mask. I'll bring,
Yep.
yeah.
Huh.
But and I think a lot of makeup artists say it all the time. Like, your makeup's only going to look as good as your skin is, and it is so true. Especially in today's trends where it's a lot of that natural glowy skin. So it's a lot of your skin coming through. So I feel like it's more important than ever.
And actually, that brings up an interesting point. And this is a guy telling you this, so please take it with a grain of salt. But do the photos online and the filters that tend to be involved, does that make it difficult sometimes to communicate with your clients? Because I have a lot of people who say, I want this, and I look at it and I'm like, that's fake. Like that was very clearly fraudulent. Does that become an issue?
Well, you can get anyone to that, right?
Sure.
So you do maybe point out her lips are filled, or she has, things in her cheeks, or she's probably done a lot of laser, or this could be a filter. So, I mean, I can get behind any beauty plan.
Sure.
And I do love lasers, and I do love Botox. And, do I think a young girl needs that? No. Do you want to look like yourself when you look back? It's kind of like a long time ago, colored contacts were a big thing. And I'm sure there's a lot of brides who look back and they have blue eyes when really they have brown eyes.
Yeah.
So same thing with hair extensions. How much hair do you want to add in? Do you want to look like yourself?
Yeah.
Or, do you want to go that full glam route? And we'll get behind any plan, but it's really understanding what is it you want? What look do you want?
Now, again, this is going to be coming from a place of ignorance because I have no hair and I really do not experience this at all. But getting into hair, because we talk a lot about makeup, but is there a heavy preparation for hair, or is it, again, you've been doing it this way, your hair is quote unquote oily, let's go ahead, and I say it in quotes because I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but is it oily? So we're going to go in knowing it's oily and prepare for that. Is that how you go about it?
Well, I think we always have two girls, and we have the girl who will grow her hair. And so we talk about that on our first conversation. Where are you at with your hair? Do you have a good relationship with a hairdresser? We can recommend some to you. Or are you keeping up with that cut? Because long hair is one thing, but you kind of want it to bounce. So you want to have movement cut into it. So you can come to us where you're in the grow stage, and then we might make some recommendations about getting some movement cut into it. Or likewise, if you're going up in the very popular tight bun right now that Hailey Bieber made so popular, you really don't need a lot of hair for that, right? So there's discussions about that and maintaining and booking those appointments backwards. So you're there, and
Mia has always a nice way about saying, so what if like a girl has her oily hair, comes to the trial, she's like, so what shampoo are you using? How do I do it? And I'm like, oh God, here we go. But they're like, oh wait, what? And then she'll talk to them about, maybe we need to add, something to
2 shampoos.
Yeah. Honestly, but every time I hear I'm like, oh, here it comes.
Oh, I didn't know.
Well, we have even more advice for them once we come back from this break. So that's a great place to stop. We'll be right back here on the Wonderful World of Weddings. We're going to talk a little bit when we get back about some of those trends that are happening with the Hailey Biebers of the world, which is so much fun. And then, of course, a little bit more advice for our couples and our brides out there. So stay with us here. I'm with Katie and Mia. They are absolutely wonderful. They are from the Boston Beauty Network. We'll be back in just a second to talk more. Thanks, guys. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Wonderful World of Weddings. My name is Daniel, and we are so happy to have you here. We are chatting with 2 wonderful ladies here from the Boston Beauty Network. Before we get right into that, I am going to tell you a little bit about the New England Wedding Expo, where you need to go get your tickets right now before they run out, and they are free. So the first 150 people are free. We had over 500 guests last year with us, and we are growing like crazy. 40 plus vendors at this, and just a few spots left for the vendors. So go on to NewEnglandWeddingExpo.com to get your tickets or sign up as a vendor today before that spot runs out. We can't wait to see you there, and be remembered, we'll be right there with you. But today we are talking about makeup, we are talking about hair, and we're trying to give our brides a little bit of advice here. Now, in the last segment, if you weren't with us, go back, listen to us. We're on a podcast. We are everywhere. If you're listening live on WCRN, note you can find us on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your podcasts. But in that last conversation, we were talking about how to prepare for makeup. We were talking about how to prepare for hair and trying to really extract what they're looking for in their big day. I guess my big question is, what type of advice do you have for these ladies out there who are, just coming, or maybe just starting to look for a makeup artist? When should they book? When is the prime time for booking makeup and hair? When's the prime time for setting up your trial? I think those are 2 big things that I think brides should know. Yeah.
I think it's so funny. We laugh all the time because when we get on the phone with these brides, we hear it all the time. They're like, well, makeup and hair is the last thing I need. I've booked every other vendor. And Mia and I always laugh because we're like,
Get your dress, get your hair and makeup.
Yeah.
It's so important.
But I think too, just even the other important side of it, it's always obviously making sure somebody, and you have artists that match your style and your vision
Right.
and, share that same aesthetic that you're looking for. But also, like, we're with you for your whole morning. We're with you for 5 or 6 hours. So we also want to make sure, we vibe and we, our personalities click and all of that. So it's like kind of twofold, right? You want to find somebody that has that great aesthetic, but also that, you want to spend the morning of your wedding with. So
Absolutely.
I always say that's important about your photographer too. If
Yeah,
I haven't booked him, I'm like, you're going to spend a lot of time with that.
Yep.
So we always laugh because sometimes, and then, we're not available because, we always say like, I don't know, 18 months out. Definitely 18 months to a year.
Your venue is your most important. And then you have to get your dress. Right when you're getting your dress, you should be thinking about hair and makeup.
And I think that's too funny because you're right. We actually record it, and I'm starting to find that the average booking for makeup is 2 to 4 months, if that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. It's very, very late. Very late to the game. All right. So that's really interesting. When are you telling them to do their trials? Because this is something I go back and forth with on brides as well. And I tell them all the time that you want to do that trial. Either my 2 suggestions, and please correct me if I'm wrong here. I either say, do it before engagement photos. So at least you have some type, you can kind of wear it. You can wear that makeup throughout the day. You can see how it, photos and so forth. But the other one is I'm usually telling them closer to their date too, just because I've heard how much skin changes. And so, and seeing how your skin's affected, is that very similar to what you 2 are suggesting?
Well, we usually tell them 2 to 3 months prior to their wedding.
Okay.
If you want to come in sooner, come in sooner. And then if you know you're going to want another trial closer to your wedding, you can certainly do that. But I think it's good to have that peace of mind that you checked it off the list and it's done and taken care of. Sometimes with skin, I think something that can throw a woman off is seeing that they want to have a tan, but they're not tan. So if you plan on being airbrushed at your wedding, with a spray tan, come to your trial with a spray tan.
Okay.
And I think that having your hair and makeup done for your engagement shoot is a necessity. If you could pull that off, it's great.
Right.
Or book another appointment for your engagement, because sometimes it's a completely different look anyways. And it's nice to have more time with us anyways. So
Yeah.
That's
and
a great point.
I do think we say 2 to 3 months prior. And I find that too, a lot of them have their showers 2 to 3 months prior. So a lot of them want it done that morning for their shower, so they can wear it. A lot of them, if they are going with an updo, will just like take it down, and just so they don't have that, same look that they're wearing on their wedding day. But we have a lot of girls that try to do that too. It gets tougher as wedding season. If they are a September wedding and their trial, their showers in June or May, and we're usually booked on a Saturday, so it's hard to make that work, or a Sunday. But we try. We do our best to try to make that work.
All right, so now we're going to go into some some territory that I'm hip. I'm with the peeps, as Sophie would say. Sophie doesn't say that. No, Sophie doesn't say that. What are the trends happening here? What is Hailey Bieber? It's Hailey, right?
Hailey Bieber,
What's she influencing these days?
Sleek bun.
Sleek bun.
Which works beautifully for a wedding on the beach.
Okay.
But now we're starting to see the big romantic tassel bun on top of the head, and I'm kind of can't believe it's coming back. But I'm seeing it everywhere.
I don't mean to stop you here, because we need to continue this, but I need to know, will Snooki's look ever come back?
Never.
Thank
Never
God.
say never.
She's like, if I have anything to do with it, it never will.
No,
I
don't think so.
Oh,
anyways.
thank God.
I think that was just her own unique
We don't want any
look,
beef with Snooki. Let's just end this conversation.
Oh man. Okay. So this big bun in the back is starting to come back.
Yeah, very romantic, very tousled. I'm starting to see a lot of that on Insta. And people are saying that it's going to be a 2023 pick.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think something that'll continue too is those Hollywood waves, those glam waves.
Stunning.
Well, I think that they're called glam waves. Mia's the hair girl, so she can probably explain it a little bit better. But
they're beautiful.
Yeah.
The waves that come down, I'm sure you've seen it, and just a comb on the side with like your hair going up a little at the top. It's been very big look. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for makeup, what are we seeing there?
A lot of glowy skin.
Glowy.
I think that's another Hailey Bieber trend, and you just see a lot of. Yeah, you see
Is
a
she
lot.
the trend master here? Like, what's going on?
So beautifully a few years ago, and
Did she?
I think that the way she did it was different than the traditional bride, but it still had a lot of tradition in it.
Yeah, it had some notes.
She's
to
so
it.
pretty. I mean, who doesn't want to look like Hailey Bieber? So
Yeah,
I don't think I've ever seen her.
Oh, she's pretty.
Is she?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think a lot of glowy skin. Your skin showing through, your freckles, showing through.
Okay.
The glass
muted
skin.
lips, just very natural, neutral colors. Nothing over the top.
Okay. And I wonder how that's going to pair, because I actually just had a florist on, and she was absolutely amazing. But one of the things that she showed was there's a pinkish red color that's kind of the look for 2023 that they're seeing. And I think the Knot said it. She was, I think the Knot announced
Pantone
it.
color.
Pantone. Thank you. Yes, that was it. That was absolutely it. Yes.
Everyone's always into the Pantone color of the year. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. So, do you think that will have any type of influence there? Does it match well with the trends? I'm getting way over over my head right now.
No, I think it does. And that's all important, right? That's all part of your story on your wedding day.
And we're going to see 95% of brides looking for that, because they look online and that's everywhere, and they go, "Oh, perfect. Can you do this?" And you say, "Yeah, sure. How do we do it?" And one leads the other, and one says, "Oh, I want my flowers. Oh, my flowers are that way, so my makeup needs to be that way. Oh, my hair, that type of thing." So
yeah, I think you will. I think you'll start to see a little bit of like pop of color on the lips, or some, or on the cheeks, that pink.
Yeah.
Bronze
Interesting.
color. Yeah, I think
Cream
you'll start to
blushes
see
are
that.
huge, have been huge. Cream contouring has been huge, will continue to be huge.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Before we end the show, I do want to make sure that we give you a proper shout out and let everyone know. I have said the Boston Beauty Network, right? Because I've been a little fangirl over here, apparently. But no,
love it.
Where can they find you? And how can they get in touch?
BostonBeautyNetwork.com. There's a contact form, and you can get on a call with us just as easy as that, filling out a contact form, or go to at Boston Beauty Network.
On Insta.
You could see more of
On
us
Insta,
there. We're
yeah.
on the Knot as well. And we're a network, so it's
Yeah.
Boston Beauty Network.
Perfect. Yeah. And who will they be talking to? One of you two?
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Sometimes both.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you two for coming on. I really
Thank you for
appreciate it.
having
Yes,
us.
thank
Yeah.
you so much for
And
having us.
For all of you out there, if you have any questions for these two, I'd love to have them on again. So go ahead and just go to berememberedweddings.com/podcast. You can actually fill out a form. You can let us know about your experience. You can also let us know of any questions you have. I'll bring them back on. We'll go through those questions with you too. Yeah, I think that's super important right now for all you brides out there who might be confused. Having experts on to really, talk about them directly and answer their questions is something we really want to do. So give us a call, send us an email, whatever you have to do. You can email us at podcast@berememberedweddings.com, and we'd love to chat with you more. I do want to let you know that we are sponsored by the New England Wedding Expo. So go there. You can find all of your vendors for 2023 and see all the trends, or for 2024, because God knows that's coming up soon. So go to newenglandweddingexpos.com. And again, thank you too. And we can't wait to see all of you again. Take care,
you.
guys.